Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
The Stock Movers Podcast. This is your roundup of companies making news on Wall Street and beyond, harnessing the power of Bloomberg data.
Let's take a look at some stocks on the move today in Europe. We're joined by Bloomberg's equities reporter Joe Easton. Good morning, Joe. Step aside Novo, because SAP has this morning taken its crown as Europe's most valuable company. How and why?
Yeah, so SAP's kind of come out of nowhere, really, overtaking Novo Nordisk, the weight loss drug maker, and kind of over the past year or so, even couple of years, it's been a battle between Novo and LVMH, the luxury company, but SAP doing really well because a lot of companies are continuing to move all their infrastructure onto the cloud, and that is SAP's big thing. So SAP now worth around 314 billion, making it Europe's most valuable company, overtaking Novo, which has been hit by some weaker than expected data on some of their latest weight loss drugs. So it's kind of a bit more of a story of Novo struggling. Novo, I think, is down around 40% since the July highs, but then SAP coming in, and LVMH, of course, hit by the continued luxury worries. But to put it into context, I was looking at some of the US valuations. It's still very small. When you look at Apple, I think worth around 3 trillion compared to the 300 billion of SAP. So all in context, but SAP now the most valuable company in Europe.
Yeah, lofty valuation for a cloud computing company. Joe, let's go next to Elliott. Has its sights on another European name, the active investor, looking at RWE.
Absolutely. So RWE, I'm still trying to think of another cloud pun there, but I'll try and focus on RWE. So RWE getting a investment from Elliott. So Elliott is this big US investor run by Paul Singer, and he's been targeting a swathe of European companies over the past year, including most recently BP. He was the guy that was pushing for them to return more cash to shareholders. Elliott today saying that RWE needs to do the same thing and hand more money back via buybacks and dividends. They say they like the way that RWE has been cutting costs, but more of that money should then be funneled to shareholders, and therefore we're getting a bit of a boost on RWE stock today. It was up around 5% at the open in Germany. Now, the thing is that Bloomberg recently did a little study on this and actually showed that it is in fact really just the fact of them taking the stake tends to boost the stock on the first day. Around 80 companies Elliott's taking a stake in, all of them tend to rise in the first few days of trading, and that's exactly what we're seeing today.
Yeah, maybe hopes of better returns for investors or whatever it may be that's fueling that. Look, after some very big gains in defence stocks across the board in Europe, UBS says that some, but not all, companies in the sector have further room to run. What are they saying?
Yeah, so UBS changing their recommendations on the key stocks in Europe. So they've downgraded Leonardo, the Italian maker of engines for fighter jets and tanks and that kind of thing. But they actually like Saab over in Stockholm and also Thales in France, upgrading both of those to buy, seeing significant earnings growth. And really just interesting, given this sector has already risen 70% year to date. It's trebled in value in terms of a sector basis over the past couple of years. So it's really quite striking that UBS continues to see stocks that have more upside. So they upgrade those two, and they were among the best performers in Europe today.
Yeah, very interesting one to watch. Did you come up with any cloud puns in the meantime?
No,
Things a bit hazy for you,
yeah,
are they?
Bit. My head's in the clouds, I think, this morning. But I got there eventually.
I knew you could do it, Joe.
Scraping the barrel a little bit there. But.
Our equity supporter, Joe Easton, thank you very much for joining us.
The Stock Movers Podcast from Bloomberg Radio. Check back with us throughout the day for the latest roundup of companies making news on Wall Street. And for the latest market-moving headlines, listen to Bloomberg Radio live. Catch us on YouTube, Bloomberg.com, and on Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with the Bloomberg Business app.